found this frequency. That means one of two things. Either you're lost, or you already know something's wrong. My name doesn't matter. What matters is the signal. And right now, the signal is clear. This is dead signal. Broadcasting from somewhere they don't sweep. Somewhere between the smoke and the recycled air. Welcome to the Outer Ring. Let me tell you about the city. Not the city they show you in the orientation feeds. Not the glowing skyline from Sector 4's observation decks. Not the clean white corridors of Sector 2 where they're busy advancing humanity for certain humans. I mean the real city. The one built like a fist. 9 sectors, 3 rings, 1 purpose. Keep the right people at the center of everything. In the inner circle, sectors 1, 2, and 3, that's where it lives. The money, the research, the machinery that keeps all of it running. Sector 1 is the historic core. Beautiful architecture, real stone, real wood, things the rest of us have never touched. The bureaucrats work there, the ultra-wealthy own there, and somewhere underneath the lobbies and the boardrooms and the perfectly climate-controlled atriums, there's a room most people don't know exists. A society. Old money, old agreements, old power. No names you'd recognize. No names at all, publicly. Just decisions that trickle down through 9 sectors and feel to those of us on the outside like it's just weather. Like something that just happens. Well, it doesn't just happen. Sector 2 is health and advancement. It's where the universities are, the research hubs, life extension programs for people whose lives are already extended enough. They call it cognitive and physical superiority maintenance. And that's the official language. Let that sit for a second. Superiority maintenance. Not medicine, not care, maintenance of superiority. For who? Sector 3 is where they keep the lights on. That's the energy fusion grid, central command, security managers who've never been to the sectors they manage. The whole inner circle is a clock, clean, precise, sealed, and it keeps perfect time on the backs of everyone outside of it. In the middle ring, sectors 4, 5, and 6. Sector 4 is their masterpiece. It's the VR and AR resorts, sports arenas, simulation centers, high-end retail corridors that smell like something baked and feel like the inside of an expensive dream. And it's where the middle class is allowed to feel like the inner class for a few hours on the weekend. This is where the distraction lives. I don't say that with contempt for the people there. I say it with contempt for the architecture. Someone designed Sector 4 the way you design a cage with very comfortable perches. Sector 5 you don't think about because it works. Automated, drone hubs, maglev terminals, and it's the invisible circulatory system. Things move through 5. People barely exist there. Which is, of course, the point. And one of my most important is Sector 6. This is the educated workforce. Doctors, coders, the lower level managers. These are the people who are valuable enough to be housed well, but not valuable enough to be housed there. Sector 6 is City's way of saying, you did everything right, but this is as far as you go. There's a woman that I know. She works in Sector 1. She could live in Sector 3, and they'd let her. She has the clearance. But she lives in 6. And I asked her once, She said, "Because I don't want to forget what it feels like to be one wall away from the outside." But it felt like that was rehearsed. And I got the slightest sense she just said that so I didn't judge her. The outer rings of Sectors 7, 8, and 9, we just all call Sector 9. Sector 7 sits directly above 4, and Sector 4 sits directly above Sector 1. It's a direct vertical line. Elite, entertained, then fed. The kitchen hubs are in Sector 7. The factories, the vertical hydroponic towers, the facilities that produce the food that feeds the people who have never even been to Sector 7. It's loud, it's polluted, and the people who work there go home smelling like something that the inner circle has never even smelled. In Sector 8 is waste management. It's just large-scale recycling, incinerators, but with robotic oversight, which means human oversight is minimal, which means accountability is minimal, and which means if something goes wrong in 8, then no one is looking. Barely anyone lives there, and the ones who do are people the system never found a better use for. Throw them away just like the waste that they manage. Think about what that means. And then there's 9. When I say 9, I mean everything the inner circle built their world on top of and then forgot to name correctly. Population overflow, unemployment, marginalized communities stacked in structures that were never meant to be permanent and have been permanent for over 40 generations. Makeshift, loud, and alive. There are families here who have built entire economies that the city doesn't tax because the city doesn't acknowledge. Black markets, not always the dangerous kind, well, not only the dangerous kind. Food distribution, medicine, housing exchange. The kind of commerce that happens when legitimate commerce decides you don't qualify. I grew up knowing people like that, and I still do. In the nicer edges of 9, the part that almost touches 6, the part where you can almost convince yourself you made it. There are kids whose families chose to budget for survival instead of address. Kids who learn to see the whole machine from the outside and understand it better than anyone inside ever could. These are the most dangerous people in the city. Not because they're violent, but because they're clear. That's the city. 9 sectors, 3 rings, one story they tell themselves about why it makes sense that some people are born in 1 and some people are born in 9, and the distance between them is measured in everything. I'm going to keep broadcasting. Every week, same frequency. If they find it, we move. If they jam it, we find another way. That's what you do when the signal is real. You don't stop transmitting. You get louder.